everyone, Bethany here with Craft with Bethany, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you something a little different to craft, and it's a blanket. It's a hand knitted blanket. These are super fun and cozy and soft and wonderful and so easy to make. This one was actually my first one that I've ever made, and it turned out so nice, and I really caught on to it super fast. So I thought, I posted a picture and people were like, I want to learn how to do that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not a professional here when it comes to knitting. I know I've done the little knitting machine video before. This is a little different. There's no machine, it's just your hands. And so we're gonna make one of these together today. I'm gonna show you exactly how to get it started, how to make it, kind of control how big it is, how to change from one color to the next so it looks seamless and flawless, and how to finish it off. So we're gonna make this exact same blanket that I posted in my picture. If you didn't see it, go over to my Instagram or Facebook page to see it at Craft with Bethany. Of course, those are linked below in the description. But today we're going to use a different color. We're going to use more of this blue color instead of the sage green, and we're using the same creamy oatmeal color to go with it. We're going to do the same blocking pattern where we have the blue, the cream, and then the blue, like I did with this one where it's green, cream, and then the green. So this blanket is big. I didn't measure the final size of it. I haven't laid it out to do that. But what I did is I have my cutting table here, which you can't see because it's covered in yarn. But my cutting table here is 60 inches wide. So what I did is I just kind of started with that width. And then I just kept going until I ran out of yarn. It ended up stretching out a little bit and being a little wider than 60 inches, so I'll probably come in a little bit this time and not go quite as wide. This one's going to be in our living room, and this one is in my bedroom on my bed, and it is so beautiful. All you need are your hands, some yarn. You are going to need some scissors to trim. And then another thing that you may want to choose to use, but this is optional, I'm going to show you two different ways, is when you are joining your two colors together, you can tie them off and leave a little bit of a tail and just have a knot. Or to have less of a bump in an obvious spot of where you tied it off, you can lay them next to each other and tie them off with thread. So I'm going to show you how to do it with the thread in this video, but also show you how to do it this way as well. If you don't have thread, you can do it this way. If you like the look of the thread, and you don't need a needle to do it, by the way, it's just thread. So it's not sewing, it's just using the thread to tie it off, because then you won't see the thread. So yarn, thread is optional, and your hands to knit this, because you don't need any knitting tools. For the size blanket that I made here, I'm going to hold this one up so you guys can see it. Okay, and it is really long, so it's a good size. I'll measure it and put the final size in the description when I'm done. But we're going to make this kind of same size blanket. It fits really nicely on a bed. So what I did is I did 3 of one color, okay? And then making rows, and then I did 3 of the white. And then I did 3 more of the color again. So it's color blocked, but then you're going to need 1 extra to finish off the end and make sure you have plenty. Okay, so I recommend starting with 9 or 10. If you don't need that last one, you can return it or save it for your next blanket. You can always do that, but this is what we're gonna do. So at least 9, 3, 3, and 3. Okay, that's what we're doing for this color block. You can choose to do less if you want a smaller blanket. It's totally up to you. Now, the yarn I'm using is called Yarn Bee. It's Eternal Bliss. So I'll hold that up for you guys. This stuff is thick and chunky and so soft. And that's what we're going to use. I purchased these at Hobby Lobby when they were like 30% off. So They're normally $6.99 each, and I got them for like $4 something each. Not bad. And I think total I got 10 of them, so total I spent maybe close to $50 with tax and everything to make this one blanket. That is not bad, and it only takes me a couple hours to do it. All right, enough talking. Let's get to hand knitting. All right, let me reset my table for you guys and we'll get started. Okay, so now that I have cleared my table and just have one skein of yarn out at a time, we are ready to get started. Again, you just need the yarn and you just need your hands. So to get started, we're gonna take our end and we're just gonna make a simple knot. So I'm gonna loop this over. Okay, we're leaving a little bit of a tail, loop this over, and I'm gonna create a little loop. This is just coming right over the top. And I'm gonna reach in this loop and pull the other end of my yarn through, okay? And as I pull my two ends, it tightens, okay? Now this loop's a little big. What I'm gonna do is take this other end and just pull it until I get just a little loop, about that size, okay? Totally up to you how big you want it to be. Now that I've got it the size I want, I am going to pull this a little tighter, and that really locks that loop into place. This tail right here, we're going to worry about at the end. We don't need to worry about it right now. All right, when you are building this blanket, whichever way you are going, so we're going to start here on the left and work our way to the right. You want your yarn to be on that side. When we're coming back the other way, you're going to want your yarn to be on this side. Just know that that just makes it easier and you don't lose your spot. You don't get tangled, okay? So I'm going to shift this back over here. All right, so we've got our first loop. What we're going to do is take our yarn, pull it through just like this. Okay, and then we're going to take our yarn, pull it through again. We're making those same size loops going from left to right. However big you want your blanket is how long this is going to be, however wide, okay? So this is when I established my 60 inches wide, as wide as my cutting table, okay? So I'm just going to keep looping and looping. Make sure you have plenty of yarn pulled out, plenty of slack. Now this loop's a little big, so we just kind of pull it back down. There we go. You want to try to be as consistent with your loops as possible. See how this is starting to look braided, like a chain link all the way across. Okay, so I have gotten all the way across my chain from where I started to the other end. And I just, again, held it across my table to get it the length that I wanted it. Now that I have found that end length, I'm ready for my blanket, because I've established my width, I'm ready for the blanket to start growing in length. So this is when we're going to start going up. So this last loop, instead of it coming out to the side, I'm just going to turn it up. That's all I'm going to do. I've moved my yarn over to the left side because I'm going to be working my way back to the left. This loop is going up. Then we're going to take this next loop that we did, or the next part of this chain, and we're going to pull the yarn through and loop it up. We're making little bunny ears all the way across. So we have another loop here, and we're going to just tuck it. So each braid or each chain that you did going across is going to get its own loop. And again, these are going to be the same size loops that we did with the chain going across. Just like that. And we're going to go to the next one. And like that. Get some more slack from our yarn. The next one. And once you get the hang of it, it actually goes really quickly. Now, if it's your first time doing one of these blankets, I do recommend counting how many chains you did across. And then after you do all your loops, count how many loops you have to make sure you caught all of them so you don't end up with a gap. Once you make sure you have all of these loops, then it's going to be much easier. You don't have to keep counting. So see how this loop went through this curve right here for this braid? This is the next curve, so that's the one I'm going to pull it through. There we go. And we're just going to work all the way across. Okay, so now I am approaching my other end. I'm almost all the way across. I've just got a couple more to do. Let's see here, I did that one. So I need to do this one. There we go. And the last one. Okay, so you've got all of my loops all the way across. And now I want to go up another loop, which is going to make our next row. So we're going to take that last loop and do a loop. And now that we're going back to the right, we're going to move our yarn to the right. And just loop and loop and loop. This is all you're doing. Once you establish that first braid, then you're just doing loops until the very end when we're going to kind of braid it back together and chain it back together to secure it all. All right, so I'm back to the end again. I'm going to loop up, move my yarn back to the other direction, and continue looping up and go back in the other direction. Okay, as you can see, I found the end of my skein. I was able to make it all the way back across, and then just a little bit ways back across for another row, and I found my end. So what I want to do is connect my end with the end of a new skein of yarn. I am going to do two options. I'm going to show you both options. You can tie it and pull it tight to do a double knot, and then trim your tails with your scissors. The other option is to use thread. I'm going to show you a way to do that. I really like doing this method, especially when I'm connecting two different colors. But you're just going to take a little piece of thread and you're going to lay your ends together over the thread. Bring the thread up and just tie a double or even a triple knot. It's totally up to you. But it brings it together. And what I like to do is flip it over and tie it going this way. And then I can always kind of maneuver these around. So I did a double knot on that side. I'm probably going to come over and do like a double knot on this side. As you can see, when I pull it tight, you can't see the thread in this thick, fluffy yarn. So I'm going to trim my thread. You don't even see it. Can't even see it. And now we can trim the tails just like that. And this will be so much less noticeable when you're doing your, when you continue on with your blanket. So now that I've got my two pieces connected, I'm going to keep doing my loops. There's my connection You can't even really see it. It'll definitely get lost when I go back through on my next row. I'm going to continue doing this blue color until I get to the cream color, and I'll show you that connection as well. And then we'll just keep going. Okay, so I have finished 3 skeins of this pretty blue color. I had to start a 4th one because I ran out right here and I just had a little further to go. So I tied off right here, finished off this row because I am now going to switch to this creamy white color. And I want it to, let's see if I can find the end of it. I mean, there's the end, but I guess it pulled out right there. They all kind of start differently. It's kind of weird. But I want these color changes to not happen here in the weird spot. I want it to happen at the edge of the blanket. So we have been building up this blanket. It looks so nice. We've got quite a few rows going. You see this nice, pretty braided look. So now I want to connect this color to this color, and I want to do it at this junction so that my next loop up is this white creamy color, okay? So in order to do that, before I loop through here, because I don't want to make a loop in the green, actually I do. I want to make this final loop up, okay? And then before I would normally switch my rope, or my yarn, I'm sorry, going back this way to keep doing more loops up, I want to have this connect here, okay? So what I'm going to do is have my 2 yarns, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of a working area. So I'm going to cut this off and set it aside. And I'm going to connect these 2 like I did before with some thread. And see, now it's pretty seamless connection. So I'm going to do that loop. It pulled out when I was tying it off. And now I'm going to be ready to do my next one. Actually, these loops are a little small, so let's make them a little bigger. There. So now my connection is going to be a white loop. And everything's going to go back in this direction, just like we were doing before. Okay, so I am at the end of the blanket. I had a little bit left on my 3rd skein of the blue, but remember I bought that 1 extra, and because I didn't have enough to get all the way back across and I didn't want to have to undo that whole last row, which I could have done, I went ahead and tied off to my extra skein of the blue, and now we're going to finish off all the way across. So I'm going to do my last loop here. See, that knot gets lost right here. Last loop here, going up, and now we want to chain it all the way across like we did at the beginning. I don't know if you can see that, like we did at the beginning. So in order to do that, we're going to do another loop in, but instead of going up, we're gonna go across. We're gonna overlap our loops. This one's gonna come on top of this next one, and we're gonna stick our fingers through and pull this up and through. So now we're gonna have another loop, and we're gonna put it over the next one and stick our fingers through both loops and pull a new one up. And see how it's gonna chain all the way across? We'll just keep going. So loop and loop together, pull through, loop and loop together, pull through. And these loops, some of them may need to be a little bigger to have plenty of room, because this is going to be a little thicker right here, but you see how it's starting to make this nice little rounded corner. Looks so nice. And doing this is going to secure all these loops we've been doing for a couple of hours now, or at least I've been doing for a couple hours. I did not make you guys watch it in real time. All right, so we get to the end here. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can loop it back through, but I like to loop it back through and just pull it tight like this. So you could take your thread and kind of do a few stitches through there or tie it off really tight through there. What I'm going to do, since I pulled it really tight, is I'm going to flip it back over and just kind of weave it in and out. That's one way to kind of weave it down through the side here, and you don't even see it. There's my little end, but you can't even tell. So there is the other corner of our blanket. Now here is the beginning where we started, this little tail, and we had tied it off. Again, you can do the thread through it if you like, or you can do what I just did. And our blanket is done. Well, there you have it. We just made the most beautiful and soft hand knitted blanket. And it was so easy and so fun. I did this in just a couple of hours. I know you watched it in like super fast hyper speed, but this didn't take long at all. And I hope you guys attempt to do it for yourself. It's so much fun. These would make wonderful gifts. Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Bethany with Craft with Bethany. Be sure to subscribe to my channel here. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And if you make one of these, I want to see it. I want to see what you created. I want to see the colors you chose, the pattern you went with. Cannot wait to see what you did. So if you make one, please be sure to tag me on social media at Craft with Bethany on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow along for the next tutorial. Bye.